I'm wearing the Warbot shirt that our kids were both on the robotics team together. The Warbots robotics team.
Founded the robotics team together.
At North Atlanta, yeah.
At North Atlanta High School. Molly, like me, has spent her adult life building and being community. And that's my core value. From the time I got back to Atlanta after graduating from Davidson and Vanderbilt Law School and started volunteering in Atlanta public schools across the city, starting with a program called Young Audiences of Atlanta, which developed arts and education programming to improve reading outcomes among at-risk kindergarten students. So I started volunteering at Lakewood Elementary and what was then Centennial Place Elementary. When my own children were born, Jim and I moved from Morningside to Buckhead, and I became that PTA mom. You know, not the powerful one, the one who cleaned up after the PTA meetings, and the one who bought her own cupcakes at the bake sale so that we could be sure we made enough money. But I also used my legal skills to start 17 school-based foundations, including the ones at Sarah Smith and Garden Hills and Morris Brandon, so that our schools would have sustainable, ongoing, long-term support. And fast forward, I was on a bunch of PTA executive boards. Jim and I were blessed to be elected co-presidents of North Atlanta Parents for Public Schools. And shortly thereafter, we hit the perfect storm of APS crisis with the cheating scandal and the accreditation crisis and a board that nearly came to blows on the dais, and had to have a judge decide who was going to sit in the middle and be the chair of the board. So in 2013, I thought I might have something to contribute, maybe more building and being community, refocusing the board's attention on why we were there, which is kids. Fortunately, the voters agreed with me, and it has been my pleasure and my honor to serve the kids and the citizens of Atlanta for the last 8 years. In that 8 years, we've raised the graduation rate over 30 points. Yes, well, I'm going to thank you, Deanna. I want to applaud for that one. We've redirected tens upon tens of millions of dollars back into classrooms where they touch kids every day. We've achieved pay parity, which means that every employee, whether instructional staff or uncertified staff, is being paid according to their merit and their experience, and not and we don't have the steps off. During the recession, we got to a point where some beginning teachers were actually being paid more than experienced teachers with advanced degrees. We fixed that. This year, we've instituted a minimum living wage of $15 an hour so that all our employees can afford to feed their families. We've opened the Atlanta College and Career Academy, which is a centralized location where our children can go to learn career skills, whether that's culinary or automotive maintenance or healthcare or IT. And then they go back to their local schools so they can be with their friends and take their core classes and be involved in extracurriculars. Because we want a student who wants to be an electrical engineer to also be able to be on the Warbots or in the marching band. That's one of the most innovative and the most exciting things that I've been involved in. Some of you have children in elementary school and you know about our dual language immersion programs. I was the board member who brought that to the superintendent and said this is something that we need to do for our kids. And so as a result, our children are learning from one another, and they are learning to be fluent in another language. DLI means that they take core curriculum in English and in the target language in Spanish. The thing I love most about this is that it gives all our kids a chance to shine. For the native Spanish-speaking kids in that class, it gives them a chance to be leaders. It gives them a chance to build confidence and to be the ones who know what's going on. For our native English-speaking kids, they learn to respect their classmates, and then they get to be the leaders on English Language Day or in the English language classes. So it's confidence building as well as skills building. In the next 4 years, I hope, my focus will be on fully and faithfully implementing our equity policy, which I was the primary author of when we passed it back in the spring of 2019. Equity means that every child gets everything they need to be successful in school, career, and life. That's all it means. It's very personal for me. The numbers are important, the statistics are important, the scores are important, but behind every one of those there is the face of a child. And it's a child who needs their gifts developed. Back when my children were at Morris Brandon, there was a plaque hanging on the wall of our beloved principal's office that said, all children are gifted. They just open their presence in different ways. Equity is about making sure every child has the tools to open their presence. So that'll be number one, that we really get that fully baked in so that every dollar, every decision, every person, every program gets put through that lens of equity. Anything that helps us get there, we do. Anything that doesn't goes out the window. I think one of the things we can do, for instance, is offer advanced and specialized classes virtually so that every child has access to AP Physics or Arabic. North Atlanta is the only high school in the city that teaches Arabic. We only have 2 high schools that teach Chinese. And if you're not at one of those high schools, you're denied the ability to take those foreign languages. So why can't we do a centralized virtual Arabic class and let kids from Mays or Therrell or Midtown take Arabic all at once? It also, again, brings us together. It helps us understand one another. Our kids need to understand that people are fascinating because they're different. And that getting to know someone even in a virtual class is a great way to do that. So learning the lessons of COVID, equity, implementing our equity policy in every single thing we do, and then continuing the wraparound services that we had to start during the pandemic. In March of 2020, Atlanta Public Schools became the largest social service agency in the metro area because we were providing 40,000 plus devices for learning, 25,000 plus hotspots, but also hundreds of thousands of meals, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, masks, counseling, medical clinics. Now we are doing vaccinations on site and testing twice a week. All of those are things that in a perfect world we wouldn't have to do as a school system, but because this is a far from perfect world, we have to make sure our kids and their families get what they need. And so those are my 3 priorities for the next 4 years. There are days when I wonder if I'm crazy to want this job again, but it's the most significant thing I've ever done after marrying him and raising my children. I get to change the lives of children and the future of our city every day. And what an incredible privilege and responsibility that is. I want to thank every one of you who helps make that possible. I am going to ask you to take a yard sign if you don't have one. Please go to the website, CynthiaBriscoeBrown.com. I have cards that have that on it if you don't have it. There's a contribution button there. I would be honored if you'd be willing to contribute financially. My injury has limited my ability to fundraise. I can also take checks for people who still do that. But the most important thing at this point is for you to tell people. Tell people that you've met me and that I have a heart for kids and that I try to do the right thing by all our kids every day. And please ask them to vote for me in emails, on social media, as you're standing in the grocery store line or in the fellowship hall at your place of worship or in your front yard visiting with friends. please just urge them to go vote, and I'd be honored if you'd ask them to vote for me.